I'll try that again. Hello and welcome to the 9 March regular session of City Council. Welcome all of y'all at home as well as people who are here in the audience. To start the meeting, Councilman Hucks will offer invocation, and Councilwoman Andrews will lead the pledge afterwards. Stand, please.
Dear God, we come before you tonight grateful for your many blessings. We're so thankful for this city and wonderful country that you've blessed us with and the freedoms that we have. Please help us to always be mindful of the service and the sacrifice required to maintain that. Please lead us, guide us, and direct us as we serve our community. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Our first item of business is a special presentation. If we'd ask Dr. Travis and the members of the Planning Commission to podium, please. Yeah, get so they can see you. Come on over this way a little bit so they can get you good shot of you there. Have a certificate of appreciation from the city that's awarded to William J. Travis, Planning Commission, from April 2004 through January 2020. And that's a whole bunch of time. And one of the things I'll say about Bill is that I had been on council just a couple of months. We had a western slot available, and he was the first person that I nominated to council to fill a commission. So would you like to say a word or two?
Well, thank you very much. Well, I want to thank you very much. I'm not going to take any time. I really enjoyed the time I had in the Planning Commission. It's a great experience. Certainly I had a number of years, nowhere near as many years as this young lady here, and nowhere near as many years as a few folks in the council, including this gentleman here. But it's really enjoyable, and it's certainly something I recommend to all the citizens of Poquoson. If you have a chance, get on one of these boards and see what's going on. Thank you all very much, and have a very pleasant evening. Thank you very much.
We appreciate all the time that you put in and the great work you did for us. And we have reentry and access authorization plan by Assistant Chief Bryant. Did you want to comment?
Yes, sir. Just tonight's presentation by Deputy Chief Bryant is really just to keep you up to date. We presented for your consideration the 5-year reauthorization of the Emergency Operations Plan, which you approved. An annex of that plan, which does not require your specific approval, was the evacuation plan. Council reviewed it carefully, made several suggestions in terms of changes. Several of you also met with us. And Deputy Chief here is back to show you exactly what we changed in response to your suggestions. I believe we captured all of your requested changes. Deputy Chief? Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, if you don't have any additional comments or suggestions with regard to this, it does not require your approval, but we're certainly always open to suggested modifications. But given the several that you had, we want to come back and show you what we did in response to your suggestions.
Any comments or questions of Chief Bryant? Okay, very good job, and we do want to assure our citizens that if they do evacuate on your suggestion, I won't say order, but recommendation, that they can come back. And we want to make sure that everybody knows that, or they won't leave. Good job. Okay, next item is an audience for visitors. If we have anyone that would like to address council on any subject. I don't see any, so we will close that item. Approval of minutes for our regular 24 February session.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes of our regular session of February 24th, 2020.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second, so Ms. Healy, please.
Yes, sir. Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Hux,
Aye.
Councilman Canella,
Aye.
Councilman Southall,
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
and Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
Mr. Vice Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you. And the work session on 24 February?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes of our work session of the same evening.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second, so call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Councilman Canella,
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilman Southall, Councilman Hux.
Aye.
Mr. Vice Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you. Moving on to new business. First item is an ordinance making appropriations for fiscal year 2020 for our South Lawson Park picnic shelter. Mr. Manager, did you?
If I could, Mr. Mayor, ask Dave Callis to come up, and he also has a representative of the Parks Board with him, and Mr. Fye, if you would come forward too, if you don't mind. And Dave has a 3-slide PowerPoint presentation. Yes, sir. That's slide 1. Yep.
Okay, I think we're good. First of all, I'd like to recognize our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board Chairman, Keith Fye, who I will tell you drove at perhaps not breakneck speed, but aggressively from Atlanta today to get here to this meeting. And Mr. Fye is here in support of the potential project that I'd like to share.
And we appreciate his efforts and welcome him.
Oh, okay, sure. Good evening, Vice Mayor, members of council. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening to discuss a potential recreational facility project for City Council's consideration. During the past several months, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board has been evaluating and prioritizing potential recreational projects which could be completed for approximately $25,000 each. The intent of their efforts is to develop and maintain a list of projects for City Council's possible consideration should funding become available during the current fiscal year. With this in mind, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board voted at its January 2020 meeting to recommend the construction of a picnic shelter at South Lawson Park to benefit the citizens of the community and to further advance completion of the park itself. Got some PowerPoint slides here, and if I can work this correctly. This slide outlines the potential location. If you look to the left, proposed picnic shelter. And there, of course, is the park itself. The shelter is a 25 by 45 foot footprint that mirrors the specifications of the one in Municipal Park right now. So that's basically what the footprint will be. This is a rendering of the shelter itself. I would point out that you will note that you see grills built into the concrete and underneath the shelter, and I would just like to let you know that's for illustration purposes only. If grills are contemplated, staff anticipates them being in the grass, not built into the concrete underneath the shelter, Deputy Chief. So make sure that we're all safe. To help underwrite the cost of the project, we're very pleased to let you know that 2 grants totaling $19,000 have been received from the Peninsula Community Foundation of Virginia. Staff has also identified an additional $6,000 from funds appropriated for the electronic sign project, which could be utilized for the shelter at your discretion. Further, staff's pleased to note that should the project be approved, Poquoson Lions Club has pledged to furnish the picnic shelter with picnic tables. So on behalf of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, staff respectfully requests City Council's consideration of the project. Pleased to answer questions or provide more information.
I'd just like to compliment you and Chairman Fye for all the work that has been done at South Lawson over the years and how it's turned into the facility that it is now from what it used to be. And a lot of us around here remember how it was back in 2003, 4, 5 time frame. So y'all have just done a super job down there, and the Lions Club has contributed significantly to that.
We're very grateful to the Lions. It was a wonderful day when they adopted the park.
Questions or comments from council? Okay, so we need a motion on this.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I move that we adopt an ordinance making an appropriation for fiscal year 2020 to fund the South Lawson Picnic Shelter.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll, please.
Councilman Southall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilman Hucks,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Canella,
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews.
Aye.
Mr. Vice Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you. So I guess y'all will be back talking about a restroom pretty soon.
That's in the above $25,000
That's a
project.
way above, the way above, yeah. Okay, item number 2 under new business is the resolution in support of the redesignation of local workforce development areas 14 and 16 into a new single local workforce development area.
Mr. Vice Mayor, if I could, I'd defer to Councilman Green, who serves as your representative. I also serve as a non-voting representative, but he serves on the small group that constitutes the executive committee, and he and a small group of people have helped shepherd this, what I think is an outstanding idea.
Thank you, sir. That is your representative to the Greater Peninsula Workforce Development Executive Board. This has been kicked around now for at least a year, Randy, I think. And it'll be a great thing because we realize that a lot of the businesses that we rely on in the workforce development do business on both sides of the water, south side and the peninsula. And it just makes sense that we would form a collaborative effort. It does 2 things. It will ease the burden of trying to ask the corporations to divide their money between the peninsula and the south side. And we benefit from any business that they get or that we get. They benefit from ours, we benefit from theirs. It'll also help us in achieving grant status. We rely heavily on grants, and we have shared grants with the South Side on many projects. So this will make it a lot easier to apply for those grants, and it also will, the state has been pushing for the localities to form collaborative efforts between between workforce sections. And so this will get us a long ways with the grants and with the state money. So it's a wonderful thing. It's interesting that the executive director for the South Side Workforce Development lives in Poquoson. So if they don't behave, we can shut off his trash collection and recycling. I'm just kidding. I hope he's listening. Also, his right-hand man, Steve Cook, lives in Poquoson. So we've got people that live right here in Poquoson that will benefit, and they'll be right in touch with us and close by. So this is a win-win for both organizations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, could we get a motion on that?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I wholeheartedly suggest that we adopt a resolution in support of the redesignation of local workforce development areas 14 and 16 into a new single local workforce development area.
And I wholeheartedly second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll, please.
Councilman Hucks,
Aye.
Councilman Southall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye, and I'd vote twice if I could.
Councilwoman Andrews.
Aye.
And Councilman Canelo.
Aye.
Mr. Vice Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you. And under new business still, number 3, which was a resolution making an appointment to the Wetlands Board, we're going to postpone that until our next session. So,
Mr. Vice Mayor, if I could, I would recommend that we table it, just in case we don't get a suitable application by the next meeting. If we table it, then we can bring it back anytime.
okay.
Second.
Are we voting without? Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
Councilman Southall,
Aye.
Councilman Canelo, Councilman Hucks,
Aye.
and Councilman Green.
Aye.
Mr. Vice Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Okay, so the resolution is tabled until we have a suitable candidate. Okay, we're down to G, comments of the city manager.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, I have more items than normal. I'll try to be brief. One is just an update and reminder that in the next week or so, our citizens will begin receiving the information from the U.S. Census. It is really important to fill that out. Census unlocks a lot of doors for us, but it starts with simply accurately reflecting who lives here in our community. So that will begin on the 12th through the rest of the month, and the official census day is in April, but I think it's April the 1st. But you'll begin to see that as early as later this week. Second, I want to thank Deputy Chief Bryant, but more so the CERT team. They have agreed, we have asked them to assist us in periodically doing a sweep throughout the city to identify any streetlights that may not be working correctly, and armed with some mapping information that Dannon and Sherry Coffey put together and coordinated by Deputy Chief Bryant. They'll be doing that sweep in the next coming couple of weeks to help us identify those things so we can get them promptly reported. We don't have staff that routinely drives around the city at night, and so this is one way to make sure that we do it systematically at least a couple times a year. Third, like a lot of people, we're all interested in what's going on with the current health issues relating to COVID-19. I would recommend anybody that's looking for a good source of information, the Virginia Department of Health website. It's the first thing on their website, and they have links from there to places like the Centers for Disease Control and other places. It's an excellent website, and it is maintained up to date pretty much around the clock. And lastly, and just found this one out today, this is for the benefit of those at home, there will be a nighttime single-lane closure on Wythe Creek Road later this week, Wednesday night, from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. to allow Virginia Natural Gas to do some of the utility work that they need to do without completely bottling up the commuting traffic. All of the people in the affected area along with Creek will be notified by Dominion by Virginia Natural Gas, no later than tomorrow, and they'll also be putting it on social media. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Okay, council directives. We can start with you, Councilman Huff.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to comment on the new location of Tom Hunt's store. I know a lot of time and effort by a lot of people went into that, and I think it looks really nice on campus. It's a nice addition now that they've gotten the brand-new roof and the brand-new foundations underneath. So thanks to all, my compliments to all involved. Thank you.
Councilman Green.
Nothing this evening, sir.
Councilman Canella.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Just one thing, and I can say this on behalf of all of us, just continue to thank the manager and his staff, Dave specifically tonight, but Deputy Chief Bryant, Chief Bowen, and his guys too, for their continued successful applications for grants that allow us to do so much in this city we ordinarily wouldn't be able to do. So thank you, guys, for your continued efforts and your hard work.
Councilman Southall.
Yes, sir. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Travis on his award tonight, and I'd like to thank Assistant Chief Bryant and the city manager for their fine work on the Poquoson post-disaster reentry and access authorization plan. They hopped right on the suggestions that we made, went in, made the changes, brought it back to us, didn't have to do any of that, okay? But they did, and they made us aware that they had done that, and I greatly appreciate that. And I would also like to thank everyone here who came to City Council tonight, and thank those at home who are paying attention to the City Council, and ask people to consider putting in applications for the various boards and commissions. Right now, the Western Precinct makes us look bad because they have a lot of applications on board, okay? And they're kind of outdoing the Central and Eastern Precinct right now. And it makes us look a little bit bad, but I know we're better than that. So I would like to see some applications come in. We can use your help on the boards. Thank you very much.
Councilwoman Andrews.
Nothing additional.
I have nothing additional, just comment that a couple of staff agencies were kind of singled out, but we just have a great city staff overall everywhere that does just all kinds of great work on a daily basis. A lot of times people see it, a lot of times people don't, but everybody just does a tremendous job, and it's just a great place to live in. And that's all I have. So that gets us down to adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Councilwoman Andrews.
Aye.
Councilman Canella.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Ah,
Councilman Hucks.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Mr. Vice Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
okay, well, we are adjourned.